Senators on the Hill yesterday introduced the idea of a standalone bill for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Good afternoon, and thanks for being here. Of course, Senator Collins and I are very disappointed by the vote this afternoon. Frankly, we're disappointed that the vote occurred this afternoon because it occurred in a context in which it was clear that the 60 or more senators who are supportive of the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell wouldn't vote for this particular cloture motion. They were committed and asked that the vote on the defense authorization bill be held up until after the tax votes. You can say that's right, you can say that was wrong, but the reality is that that was the request, and nonetheless, Senator Reid went ahead and called this vote. And it was clear that we did not have the votes to get it passed. So the harsh reality here, and we're dealing, those of us who support the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, we're in an effort to try to undo what we think is an injustice that is inconsistent with American values because it doesn't judge people based on how they do the job, in this case in the military, but by who they are, in this case their sexual orientation. And we also think it's a foolish policy for the military, or policy that's inconsistent with the best interests of the military, because it deprives our military of thousands of Americans who happen to be gay or lesbian, who want to serve their country and have talents and commitment and patriotism that will enable them to be good soldiers. Those are the principles involved here. This afternoon, process triumphed over those principles. Parliamentary procedures won over the policies, and as a result, we have suffered a setback. But the reality remains that 60, and I think maybe more than 60, members of the United States Senate have made clear that they support the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And while that is the case, and it is the case, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting until the last possible moment in this session, because we've got the votes to change this unjust policy, and we owe it to ourselves and to our country to continue to fight until fighting is no longer possible. So, Senator Collins and I, Senator Udall and others, will be, perhaps by the end of this day, introducing a freestanding bill, a separate piece of legislation to repeal the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy that prevails in the U.S. military today. I informed Senator Reid during the vote on this motion that we were going to do that, and he said, same language as in the defense authorization bill. I said yes. He said, put me down as a co-sponsor. I said, Harry, we're going to ask you to bring this to a vote before the end of the lame duck session. And he said, I will bring it to the active calendar under Rule 14. So it ain't over till it's over. And insofar as the efforts to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it ain't over. We've got 60 or more votes, and we're going to keep fighting until the clock runs out. And as I look at the clock, there's a lot of time left to get this done. Senator Collins.
Thank you. I'm extremely disappointed with what has occurred today. As Senator Lieberman has indicated, I am convinced that there are 60 or even 61 or 2 votes to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and under the carefully constructed language that is in the defense authorization bill, and to proceed to the bill in general. This bill is important. It's important to our troops. It includes not only the Don't Ask, Don't Tell language, it includes a pay raise for our troops who are fighting on the front lines in Iraq and Afghanistan. It improves mental health services. It has many provisions that are important to my home state of Maine. And there is no reason why we could not have proceeded to consider that bill after completing action on the tax relief bill and using a process that would be fair to both sides. I'm extremely disappointed that the Senate Majority Leader walked away from negotiations in which we were engaged and which were going well. There was a clear path forward to complete action on this important bill, which contains this important law change and many others. And instead, the Majority Leader decided to prematurely hold a cloture vote that he knew would not succeed. I just don't understand that decision. I don't understand it given the importance of this bill and the policies in it, and given that it was clear to all of us that there were 60 votes for the bill if it were brought to the floor at the appropriate time and under a fair process. So I'm very disappointed that this is where we have ended up. I'm very pleased to join our leader, Senator Lieberman, Senator Udall, and others who care about this issue in introducing a freestanding bill. And I would also note the amount of time that we have wasted just today when we could have been debating the tax bill. And it looks like we're not going to be having votes this weekend. So the idea that we didn't have time to do both the tax bill and the defense authorization bill is just not supported by the facts.
Thanks, Senator Collins. I want to just thank you publicly, because not only for your support and leadership on this all along, but on this vote today, without the assurances that you thought you were going to have about the process that would go on if we got onto the defense authorization bill, nonetheless, you felt strongly enough about the underlying bill and about repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell that you voted for cloture, and I appreciated that. Senator Udall.
Let me be brief, because I know there are plenty of questions pending, but I want to first just thank Senator Lieberman and Senator Collins for their courage, for their leadership, for their stalwart focus on this really crucial item that pertains to our national security. And my sense is that where there's a will, there's a way. There's a lot of will standing in front of you, but as importantly, there's a lot of willpower within the civilian and the military leadership who've said to us over and over again, pass a legislative solution and put a legislative path in place for us to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell in a way that respects the concerns of those in the military when it comes to readiness and morale. Don't leave us at the mercy of the courts. This leaves us at the mercy of the courts. We're going to find a way to get this done. I know Joe's on record. He'll stay till January 3rd. 4th. I don't want to speak for the senator from Maine.
Happy New Year.
But this is too important to let this opportunity slip out of our hands.
Thanks. Reporting from Capitol Hill, this is Steve Fox with Washington Blade.